The Indiana Fever just hit the league with a plot twist that had the entire WNBA buzzing. In a single sweeping move, they cut not one, but two high-profile rookies from the roster, sending shockwaves across the basketball world. And just as fans were trying to wrap their heads around it, Sheryl Swoopes, the president of the anti-Caitlin Clark Club, stepped out of the shadows like it was her personal comeback tour. Only this time, her target wasn't just Caitlin Clark. It was the whole Fever operation. And you have a black player that just got cut. And Sheryl Swoopes is not happy about that. What started as a standard roster shakeup quickly turned into full-blown league drama, dripping with tension and the kind of headlines that practically write themselves. When we all thought Swoopes has been banished into parts unknown, she still finds herself randomly reappearing out of nowhere. What did she have to say? And how is the Indiana Fever shutting down all this noise? Let us know in the comments what you think of Swoopes. Let's start with the cuts that made the headlines. The Indiana Fever just pulled off one of the most aggressive preseason roster moves in recent memory. Bree Hall, yes, that Bree Hall, the electric guard and two-time national champion out of South Carolina, got the boot before she even had a chance to lace up for real minutes. That's right. Not a single second of game time in the opener against Washington, sparse minutes against Brazil, and next thing you know, she's gone. And if that felt like a gut punch, just wait, because the Fever weren't done. Bree Hall is now gone, as you know, and today it was announced that wnba has been waived by the Fever as well. Sophie Cunningham talked about that yesterday, saying you can latch on to another team, another play. Around 24 hours later, the team announced that wnba, the all-time scoring leader from Gonzaga and a player with enough heart to power the entire Pacific Northwest, was also cut. Two rookies, both with glittering college resumes and real promise, were handed pink slips before they could even unpack their bags. Both had barely enough time to warm up. Gone. Just like that. That's the cruelty of pro sports in full display. It's not always about talent. It's about timing, fit, and sometimes sheer roster math. Dreams meet the business side of basketball. Of course, the natural question becomes, why these two? To understand the sting, you've got to see the situation of the Fever's salary cap. Because of Katie Lou Samuelson's bloated contract that the Fever had to buy out to sign key veterans, the team could only afford 11 players on the roster. All the veterans, such as Natasha Howard, Dawana Bonner, Sydney Colson, Bree Turner, Sophie Cunningham, Damiris Dantis, and the newly re-signed Kelsey Mitchell, have at least 1-year guaranteed contracts, which means that if they were cut, the Fever would still have to absorb their salaries on their books. The only ones that theoretically could be cut from the existing roster and have their salaries removed from the books are those in their original rookie contracts they signed when they were drafted, meaning Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, and Lexi Hull. And nobody in their right mind would cut these three. That means 10 out of 11 roster spots are locked. In reality, all three rookies, including Michaela Timpson, who has been showing flashes of brilliance during training camp and preseason games, are just fighting for one spot. Highly likely that spot will go to Timpson, given the need for younger forwards in the rotation, her ability to run the floor, and provide elite defense. Fans are calling her the steal of the draft, picked at 19th when a lot expected her to be at the top 10. For fans of Hall and Ejim, this hits differently. This wasn't just a box score move. It was the cold, hard intersection of salary caps, limited roster spots, and the brutal race for a championship window. These cuts hurt because they represent more than talent. They represent hope, and just like that, two dreams were deferred. And after all, we saw Sheryl Swoopes in rare form. Hating on Caitlin Clark all last year. Well, maybe she has figured out, well, hating on Clark, I've been told, that's not really a great idea. Yada yada yada, so what other white girls can I tune up from the Indiana Fever? Naturally, it didn't take long for the backlash to hit. And leading the charge, megaphone in hand, was none other than Sheryl Swoopes. The moment Bree Hall's cut hit the newswire, Swoopes lit up like she'd been waiting all off-season for this kind of controversy. Her return wasn't casual. It was a full-on verbal body slam. Okay, example, the Washington Mystics Indiana Fever game. 'Cause I know on social media people were like, well, why aren't the starters in for the Mystic? They could win this game. And I was there, right? Because preseason is about Yes, you're going to play your starters, you're going to play your players. Typically, they don't even play that many minutes, right? Because you have so many players on your roster that you got to make roster cuts, so you're still trying to figure out who can fit what we're doing. On the latest episode of the Women's Hoop Show, Swoopes didn't just express concern. She launched a one-woman verbal offensive, and her primary target, head coach Stephanie White. According to Swoopes, White didn't just mishandle the rotations, she practically sabotaged them. Why, she asked. Was Bree Hall kept on the bench while others with less upside got priority minutes? If you're still figuring out who to cut, why wasn't Bree Hall even playing? She demanded. And if that wasn't pointed enough, the subtext was even louder. This wasn't just about basketball IQ, it was about who gets the benefit of the doubt. Who's allowed to prove themselves, and who gets sidelined before they can even step onto the stage. And if you thought Swoopes was done, think again. She turned the heat up even higher, taking aim at the two players who did benefit from White's game plan, Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull. Two women Swoopes took aim at, but whose presence she questioned with surgical precision. The way she framed it, let's just say the implications were loud enough to echo through every WNBA Twitter space, and then came the comment that all but confirmed her angle. Swoopes, with a healthy dose of sarcasm, quipped that maybe she should focus on tuning up the other white girls on the fever now that she'd been told to leave Clark alone. That's not subtle, that's not shade, that's a full spotlight, and a narrative bomb dropped in the middle of the room. My goodness, I mean, we've had 2 preseason games. 2. And we're back to it. We're back here. She's criticizing, Stephanie White. I bet Sheryl Swoopes hates that last name. Criticizing Stephanie White. And, of course, it relates to Lexi Hull and Sophie Cunningham. Oh, I bet Sheryl Swoopes hates her. Some Sophie Cunningham. You know she does. Let's not forget. This isn't Swoopes' first anti-Clark rodeo. She was one of the earliest voices to question Caitlin Clark's records, her style, her swagger, her age, her leadership, pretty much everything short of her shoe size. And now that Clark has the full backing of the Indiana Fever and fans across the globe, Swoopes isn't just focused on Clark. She's got eyes on the whole perimeter. Cunningham, Hull, anyone who dares to link arms with Clark in building this new WNBA powerhouse. At this point, it's becoming pretty clear. Swoopes doesn't just dislike what the Fever are building. She resents it. She sees this influx of young, confident talent reshaping the league's face, and she's not interested in celebrating it. She's here to challenge it, question it, and if necessary, scorch the court with commentary every step of the way. But while Swoopes stirs the pot, Clark and the Fever are stirring excitement. Sure, they cut 2 promising rookies, and yes, that stings. But they did it with the full intent of building a contender. Bree Hall and Yvonne Ejim, they've got bright futures ahead, no question, and we thank them for the heart, hustle, and class they brought. But the Fever, they're all in, and the league's starting to notice, and here's where Swoopes' hot take starts melting under its own heat. Because let's be real, Coach Stephanie White's roster decisions weren't some wild shot in the dark. They were strategic and rooted in one thing that matters deeply for a young, overhauled team trying to find its identity: chemistry, experience, and fit. Keep in mind, a lot of this team is new to each other. So, getting minutes with a new player, like Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull together, and some of these others, veterans, I'm sure, is a priority. It's not about getting the minutes to prove whether or not they make the team. This team has to build actual chemistry if they want to win a title. That's what this is about. No disrespect to raw talent, but in the WNBA, experience talks. Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull have logged real, hard-earned minutes at this level. They understand tempo, spacing, and the grind of a professional season. They're not learning the ropes, they're anchoring them. When you've got a roster as young and as high-profile as Indiana's, you need players who don't panic when things get messy, who know how to calm the chaos instead of adding to it. And speaking of proving yourself, Sophie Cunningham did exactly that. In the Fever's exhibition game against Brazil, she didn't just show up, she showed out. Two-way hustle, vocal leadership, and a commanding presence that screamed, "I belong here." This wasn't a player getting freebies. This was a vet who grabbed her spot with both hands and dared anyone to question it. But of course, none of that made it into Swoopes' diatribe. Instead, she twisted it into something darker. A narrative that Clark and her crew are part of a system shutting out deserving young players. She goes, "Oh my God, Sophie's a dog. She just is, she's a competitor. She's versatile, so she allows us to do different things, like she plays with such a toughness. She's huge, and she's going to be for us all season long. But what she brings, from an energy standpoint, she raises the level of play of everybody around her as soon as she steps foot on the floor. Hell, even on the sideline. I mean, her communication, everything. She's definitely an X factor." Let's just zoom out for a minute and appreciate the absurdity of what's happening. Caitlin Clark, the record slayer, the logo sniper, the smiling point guard who made the Indiana Fever must-watch TV, is being treated like some kind of cosmic disturbance instead of the once-in-a-generation star she clearly is. This woman has pulled in millions of new fans, flipped the media narrative around women's sports, and turned preseason matchups into pay-per-view events. She didn't just elevate the Indiana Fever, she boosted the entire WNBA economy. Ticket sales, through the roof. TV ratings, never higher. Merch sales. Caitlin Clark is the stimulus package the league never saw coming. This was a pre-season WNBA game. It is unbelievable what it is Caitlin Clark does. Whenever Caitlin Clark takes the floor, that maybe is different not only from any player in the WNBA, but from any player in basketball. But as we've all seen, with fame comes friction. And in Clark's case, that friction has a name. Sheryl Swoopes. Last year, Swoopes couldn't wait to downplay Clark's college scoring records, throwing shade with a side of skepticism every chance she got. This year, she's back at it. Only now, she's dragging Clark's teammates into the mix, painting the Fever's personnel decisions as coded favoritism. And whether fair or not, the implications are loud enough to drown out logic. But here's the truth that keeps getting lost in all this noise. Caitlin Clark isn't cutting players. She's not drawing up rotations, setting preseason lineups, or managing the salary cap. That's on Stephanie White and the Fever brass. But because Clark is the most visible star on the team, every choice the Fever make is going to be tied to her name. Every cut, every contract, every minute played. And that's the pressure cooker she's now living in, whether she wants it or not. Sheryl Swoopes is in mid-season hateration form. I'm sorry, this looks a different way to me. Alright, you just... yes, no other way around it. What's even more telling? Swoopes made it clear this isn't a one-and-done commentary. Her tone suggested this is going to be a season-long grudge match. Anytime Clark shines, there's going to be someone ready to say, yes, but... Meanwhile, inside the Indiana locker room, the stakes couldn't be higher. This isn't just about chemistry. It's about surviving a media storm and thriving in a fishbowl. Clark, Boston, Mitchell, Cunningham, Hull, Bonner, Howard, Colson, Dantis, Turner, and whoever the 11th player will be. This team is stacked with talent, but talent doesn't automatically equal teamwork. If they want to be a title contender, they'll need trust, resilience, and a level of focus that can block out the swirling chaos. And then there's the microscope hovering over Clark's every move. She's not just expected to thrive, she's expected to transcend. Miss a shot, it'll trend. Turn the ball over, cue the think pieces. But drain a logo 3, thread a no-look dime, or pull off a game-winning run. That won't just inspire, it'll provoke. Because in today's WNBA, Clark isn't just a player, it's about what Clark represents. She's not just ushering in a new generation, she's redefining it. And not everyone is ready for that ride. For the old guard, it's a shift that feels like a threat. For the new school, it's a revolution in progress. So let's hear it. Was Swoopes speaking truth to power? Or is this just another example of the old guard trying to gatekeep the spotlight? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you're rocking with Caitlin Clark and the Fever, let us know too and let the world know where you stand.